My name's Elizabeth Harrion, and in today's video I'd like to talk about the 3 steps to reducing project cost. Firstly, think about what costs you're trying to reduce. There could be particular pressure on capital expenditure, so that's CapEx, things like equipment and kit, or there could be pressure on the operating expenditure, OPEX, so people and ongoing maintenance fees, things like that. Then there could be pressure to reduce the costs in this financial period or this financial year, or across the life of the project overall. So there's a difference there as well. Thirdly, you might have to look at reducing just the project cost, or you might have to look at reducing the total cost of ownership. So everything to do with the whole life of that project, including ongoing maintenance and support fees forever and ever. So there's 3 different areas to look at: CapEx and OPEX, this financial year or the life of the project, or total cost of ownership, or just project implementation fees. The second step is to cut the obvious things. So there might be contingency that somebody in your team has put in that you think is too high, or that with a proper risk assessment you could reduce. There could be some fat in the budget in terms of additional requirements that you now know that you're not going to deliver. Or there could be other areas where you think actually there's some scope here to reduce things without really having too much of an impact. So the obvious expenditures that you could reduce by not using external meeting rooms, coming in-house, things like that. So look at all of those things first. The third step is to cut the things that are not quite so obvious. So are there requirements that you could lose in discussion with your project sponsor and the other stakeholders? Are there quality requirements that could be reduced that would significantly save you costs and that would still be acceptable to the project customer? There might be some areas of scope that you could trim back on, or there might be some areas of scope that could be moved into a phase 2, and all of those things will help you save money in this particular instance. Then there could be other areas where you can make savings, but again perhaps slightly less obvious. You could use cheaper resources, although you need to be a little bit careful with that, because sometimes the more expensive the resource and the more qualified they are, the better experienced they are, the faster they can do their job and to a higher standard. So using a cheaper resource may not actually bring you the required savings if it takes them longer, for example. But looking at cheaper resources is one way of making savings across the budget. Thirdly, you could look at some kind of innovation or creativity. Can you solve problems with a different approach? And instead of looking at how you're developing something now, could you develop it or deliver it in a slightly more innovative or creative way? And a good way to look at that is to think about what happens in other industries. What's the standard in another industry, and perhaps that's not what you're doing. Could you then adopt that and bring it into your industry? Remember, don't cut your budget so much that you can't deliver anything of value to your project sponsor. There is no point in working on something that will produce a result that is such low quality, or that has such a reduced scope, or requirements that really don't give you everything that you need to be fit for purpose, because that's going to give you no value at all. What would be better in those situations, if you're facing that with the budget reduction work that you've had to do, would be to suggest that we cancel or postpone the project until such time as the budget is in a better position, and then it can be restarted again with all of the functionality, all of the features, all of the quality, all of the requirements that are needed in order to be able to do a good job. There are plenty more videos online, so why not take a look?